A question was raised as my conscience fell.
My name is Roy Christians. You probably don't know what the International School Project is. So I am here to tell you something about our ministry, our history, what we do, our strategy, and hopefully it'll be an encouragement to you. One thing I love, I'll tell you a little something personally about me, and one reason I love coming to Kenya. I have a sport that I participate in that's appreciated in Kenya more than anywhere else in the world. I run marathons, and Kenyans know how to appreciate good marathoners. So I'm not as fast as your countrymen. I'm much slower than that, but it's what I love doing. The International School Project. International School Project is a worldwide movement of educators who care deeply about children and want to help them be able to fulfill their dreams by making wise choices. It's a difficult world that they're growing up in, even more difficult than when we were children. The challenges that are there, helping them see from a biblical foundation what are the right things to do, and to build positive character traits in their lives too, so they can be moral, ethical men and women of character. We believe Jesus Christ is the best model of ethical behavior, and the Bible is the best foundation for teaching this information. We are a part of the global ministry of Life. Does anyone know about Life Ministries? Campus Crusade for Christ? Some of you have heard about them. So we are a part of that. I lived a majority of my adult life in Russia. I raised my children in Russia. And actually my son went back to America for university, and then he's back teaching. He's a school teacher in Russia. Actually, both of my children are school teachers. I'm very proud of that because I think teaching is the best profession in the world. In fact, I would say in any society, the most valuable people in the country are teachers. You are far more important than someone who can kick a football. And you should be paid more than people who kick footballs. I don't know if we can make that happen, but as far as your value to society, you're far more valuable to society than that. The International School Project. Maybe to understand who we are, I should talk about how we began in our history. It was a little over 25 years ago. We began in the Soviet Union. And the way we began was clearly a work of God. This was something that was thrust upon us by God, not something that men sat around and decided they were going to start. It all started because of a man who you've never heard of named Brudnov. Andrei Konstantinovich Brudnov. At the time, in the 1980s, in the Soviet Union, he was the head of the Young Pioneers and Komsomol. This is where, in the Soviet era, they wore red scarves, and it was the atheistic youth training. So he was a very strong atheist and a party member. One night on TV, I obviously work with Life Ministries, and we have the Jesus Film. You may have heard of the Jesus Film. We put the Jesus Film on television in 1989, and he saw part of it and was intrigued by it. The next year, 1990, if you remember those turbulent years in Eastern Europe and the Soviet Union, we actually showed that film in movie theaters across Moscow. My wife and I were living there then. He secretly, secretly went to see the film. Because of his position in the Communist Party, he couldn't openly go, but he wanted to see the film. He tells us that when he watched the film, he cried twice. Once when Jesus was being crucified, and once when he opened his heart to Jesus Christ and gave his life to Christ. But now, Andre had a problem. He was the head of the atheistic training for all the Soviet Union, and he was a Christian. Well, the Lord worked it that one of the men working with Life Ministries the next month came into his office. Came in with an offer. The man went in with an offer to give the Jesus film to every school in the Soviet Union. We're talking 600,000 or 700,000 schools. And Andre listened. He says, yes, we will accept those Jesus films, but that's not what I really need. Puzzled, the man, Paul, said, what do you need? He goes, our society is crumbling because we're raising our children on the wrong foundation. I need a way to teach the children of the Soviet Union solid morals and ethics. Can you do that? And he said, we can do that. And so we wrote a curriculum to be used in public schools at that time throughout the Soviet Union, Russia, elementary and secondary, that taught Christian moral values from the Bible. It almost seems impossible, something we didn't even have the faith to pray for. But that's how we began, and since then we have spread around the world. We've trained over 100,000 teachers directly who have influenced tens of millions of children. Now, let me just tell one story to give you an idea of the types of things that we're used to seeing, to just let you know that this isn't anything we can take pride or claim. We were doing a conference in Murmansk, which is a city in Russia. And at our conferences, we distribute Bibles. And so everyone is given a Bible. But in this city, the Bibles had been held up at customs and they didn't have them to give away. So the day before the conference began, we asked, where can we get Bibles in town? And one man said, I've got an uncle who works at a warehouse. And back when Stalin got rid of all the Christians from Murmansk and sent them to the gulags, to the prisons out in Siberia, he collected all of the Bibles and he told them to destroy them. But I know my uncle and my grandfather worked there, and the people were afraid to destroy the Bibles, so they just boxed them up and put them in a warehouse. So we took some people with us, and we got some young men, very strong backs, to go with us to help, and we went to the warehouse. And we asked the manager of the warehouse, we said, we hear that you have Bibles that have been here for decades from the Stalin time. Could we give them away? Could we have them? He said, I would love for you to take them. I'm so tired of storing them and moving them. They're so heavy. Please take them away. Now, one of the young men we took with us was not a Christian. He was just a young man with a strong back we brought along. But he had told us that his grandmother had been a Christian, but his grandmother had been arrested during the Soviet Union for being a Christian, and she had died in a prison because of it. Now, when we were unloading the boxes, he dropped one of his boxes and it broke open. And when he reached down and he picked up the first Bible and opened the front page, do you know whose name and signature was on that page? It was his grandmother's. This is something God is doing that we just wanted to be a part of. So the International Project is this organization where we come and we work alongside of governments. Where possible, we meet with the ministers of education at the top of the governmental chain, and we talk with them, and we get approval to come in and teach morals and ethics. We particularly work in countries that are traditionally resistant to Christianity. So we work in Muslim countries, in Buddhist countries, and we come and we show them how their need is so great that they're facing, and we have answers, and the Lord supernaturally opens doors for us to work there. Now, let me tell you some of the distinctives about the International School Project. We are a spiritual movement of educators. And each one of those words is important. We are spiritual. We are a Christian movement. We are careful how we talk when we're meeting with ministers of education and when we're working in Muslim schools. But we are Christians, and there's a Christian basis, and ideally we come in and we work, and then we get groups of teachers, and we help reach teachers. We primarily minister to teachers, and we train and equip them to reach their colleagues and to reach students with the gospel. And we're a movement. We come in and start something and equip them to take it to other places and share it with other colleagues, and it just takes off. We just celebrated 25 years in Russia. Now, initially, we bring teams of people in who are trained to start it, but then the countries themselves pick it up and go. So we don't send people to Russia or any money to Russia anymore because they do it themselves, and yet they're all across, the country in what they're doing. But we focus on educators. Now, if I had a diagram, I'd have a circle diagram, like a pie, and we have a slice of it. I like to talk about the Great Commission pie. God, you know what the Great Commission is from the end of Matthew 28. Now, we think educators and teachers are so important. That's the slice of the pie we focus on. It doesn't mean we don't think there should be ministries to other people. We realize we're only one part of it. But in every society, and I work all over the world, in every town and village there is a school. Teachers are respected members in that society. If you can reach teachers, you're going to reach generations to come, and you're going to reach entire societies. In fact, I like to then redraw the picture, and I cut the middle out. You mathematicians know what a concentric circle is. The middle concentric circle, because I think teachers are at the heart of every society. You're that important to what society does. So we focus on reaching you with the gospel. Because the truth is, although we have conferences and events, what you want to do is train and equip people so that they can carry on and build it. We have a number of different curriculum we have written, and we're constantly writing new lessons. Minister, we come in and we listen and we ask, what are the primary issues you're facing? And then we help work alongside educators in a country by getting an international team of educators to help design new plans. Teachers are very busy, and some of the busiest people in the world. So we actually try to write whole lessons so you can take them and they're ready to go with creative teaching styles. I was cheering along this morning when Professor Lois was talking about being creative in your teaching and what you need to do. It takes time and energy, but we can help create those kinds of things for you.
But you love me anyway. It's like nothing in life that I've ever known.